make you moderate.
Now we're okay.
Yeah,
Hey
we
everybody.
would never make you moderate.
We
But
have
just in
friends.
case, go ahead, do the on
Okay,
moderation.
sure. Hey everybody, welcome to Drawn to Us with a profile picture drawn by us,
Ooh.
where everybody is drawn to us. It's something like that, right? I hear
Yeah,
Summer say it every week.
It's always something like that.
Yeah,
But
I don't. I'm not very sure.
Technical way to start it off is hello everybody, welcome to Drawn to Us, a podcast where I permanently screw up the open.
Exactly. I'm sorry. I forgot that usually we do like 15 takes of this and then
Yes,
we
of
just
course
move
we do.
on.
In fact, we actually start an hour early, and it's just spent rehearsing our intro, which we never have changed, and which
Yep.
have never gotten right to date,
Yep.
but on the
I mean,
first attempt anyway.
You'd
So
think it gets easier, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It actually gets harder every time I screw up because I keep remembering the intro wrong because I always screw it up in the same way, right? And so that's almost a neural pathway in my head of, ooh, he's doing the intro. Well, he's not being recorded, so let's do it right. Oh, hold up, he's being recorded. End it! End it all!
It is the recording curse. And as
Yes, it
everybody
is.
listening in might notice, today everything seems so much calmer and nicer, and that the birds are singing. And you want to tell us why that is, Summer?
I couldn't tell you, but it just seems like somebody who's usually really talkative and I would say almost annoying, but not quite. Either way, somebody who's permanently putting in their voice is not here. And I also know why. And it is not something we're supposed to be discussing in public, though, because I shall quote Imperfect here. I'm playing with my nephew.
I'm playing with my nephew. Fudge off.
What, you too? Could you cease?
Oh, well, I mean, nice of him, right? I mean, blowing off our podcast.
Blowing off,
Viewers,
yes. Just what I was talking about.
I can't believe this. So, what's today's topic, Summer?
Today's topic is improvisation, which is a really cool thing.
Very
and so you guys might not know this because we've never told anybody. And you wouldn't even know it if we didn't talk about it right here, right now. But I was not supposed to be here for the entire podcast tonight because I had a plan to meet some friends later on. And Heck wasn't supposed to be here for the beginning of the podcast.
Yes,
because he had an appointment with being somebody who doesn't plan ahead.
Well, that's one way to put it.
Talking about other ways to put it, tell me about your week.
Oh, my week. Okay, sure. A little bit of a little, tidbits before we start getting into the actual topic. Well,
yeah, sure.
I mean, what have I been doing? I haven't been doing much. I've been working on my little comics, If you aren't following me on Instagram, I
don't
really
follow him. It's not a good comic.
Thanks.
Something to interrupt him? What? something, interruption, something?
And yeah, I got scammed out of $160. I think that has to be the highlight of my week. I mean, did I tell you about
$60?
Yeah,
That's
$160.
almost a lot of money.
That is almost a lot of money. That is right. Oh boy. What happened, right? I was trying to cancel this flight that I had scheduled on the 15th. And this website Opodo?
No.
It's like it's like one of those price comparison websites, you get on there and then they book for you and stuff like that. Well, I had my credit card details on that website, and when I wanted to cancel, right, they gave me an error message, and then they said below, call this number to cancel. And I was like, sure, okay, I'll call this number. And then I did this twice, right? I did this twice. First, I called them for half an hour, and I was sitting in the waiting line for half an hour before I gave up. And then the second time I was more determined. I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit here for an entire hour and just see if anybody picks up. And well, it turns out the reason why the waiting list is so long is because apparently they charge you for every minute you're in that freaking call, which they did not say on the website, and they did not mention anywhere in any visible capacity, which is why I'm
legal?
That is definitely not legal. Are you kidding me? I'm so sure that is 100% illegal. And our local artist here on the server, I don't know how
Our
to pronounce
local artist, because we only
Well,
have one.
Well, for goodness sake, Summer, how else would you say it? What's his name?
Uh,
Pamis? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh, the American guy who owns it, or who runs the cinema on the side. PMS.
Yes. Is he American?
Yes, he is.
That is, I don't know, off topic. If you want to go meet him,
Oh,
join
wait.
the server.
I think he is. I'm pretty sure he lives in America.
He
Could
lives in,
ask him
I
if
think
you're
he lives in
interested,
Finland,
guys.
though. Yeah. Yeah, just come here. Finland, America, find out for yourself.
I was
Come here.
talking about the server.
No.
We have a Discord server.
Yeah,
which
point
we're currently
yourself.
talking in, where you get extra special stuff.
Oh yeah, you get to interact with all of us. It's really fun. You tag me and I don't respond to you.
Yeah, I do.
Who wouldn't want that?
I.
Point
You
is,
also get to ask him to call a number and charge him, I think, $1 per minute, was it?
I don't. I must have been
It's
like
pretty cool for
something.
making money. So, you saved some.
I what?
You told me you got $60. Was it not from the website, or did you just got scammed out of it?
No, I got
Oh.
scammed out of $160 Summer.
I thought you got $60.
No, I got scammed out of the money, and
Well, are you taking legal action?
Well, I mean, I might have to, right? I mean, it's not okay. It's not like it's no money, right? It's not like there's no money involved here, but it's almost like I have to consider if it's even worth it to pursue like action, right? Because this is like one of those like scammy. You're gonna call them again, and they're just gonna book you more money kind of dealios. They don't have any public like way to contact them or message them, right? I mean, I am looking into it, right? That's what Pamus told me, which is that I can contact consumer protection in Switzerland or something, because they didn't indicate that they would charge me, right? So I can go see if I can, get my money back, or at least like screw them. The one thing I'm definitely doing is I'm telling everybody not to use that goddamn website. So are you kidding me? Like, just
share this podcast with your friends so they can also avoid getting scammed.
Yeah, I mean, Christ Almighty, I got $160, man. That's more than like the flight I was trying to cancel, right? That's more than the flight I was trying to refund in the first place. Like that was $120 or something, and they charged me 160 just to wait. So complete scam. Anyways, that's the highlight of my week. You want to tell me about yours?
Yeah, I'll just respond to Imperfect, who just told me that we're 2 hours early, which is not true in the least.
It's fine. I will take this opportunity to take a bite out of some cup noodles.
Ooh, please take a bite out of this noodles. Frozen solid, I hope. That's the best way to
eat. Summer.
Nice and freezing.
Oh, can you hear this actually in the microphone? This might sound disgusting. Can you hear this?
Yeah,
it's like
I can hear
soup.
I can hear you talking in the microphone, but don't worry, it's not disgusting in the least.
Well, Summer, I swear to God. Hold on, let me turn up the gain on the microphone like a bunch so everybody listening in can listen to me eat soup.
Oh yes, eat it. Come on, give me a huge chunk and then chew it up.
Sure. You like this?
No, I don't. The audio quality just dropped.
Oh yeah,
enormous sound. How could you filthy heretic?
Ours is the best.
Right. But yeah, you haven't lived till you've eaten a block of frozen noodles.
I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that anybody should take that advice.
I think they should all take it, put it in the freezer for, let's say, a day or two, and then just get the solid chunk and eat it on their way to whatever public transportation they use.
Is this like a life hack thing? Are you telling me you've done this before?
No. I'm neither confirming nor denying this.
All right. Well, I mean, this is a nice segue into what you were doing in your week. If it wasn't
what I was doing in my week is being hella busy with university, because I started. People joining in is always weird. But yeah, I started going to uni this week again. Uni started again, and I can't really. And so, the initial week, I thought, goodness gracious, the second semester is really easy compared to the first one, because we have about half of the classes and there's only one class where we have to take something akin to homework, but a bit tougher. And then by the end of the week, I'm entirely spent and out of time, because during that week they added 3 extra classes, which estimate to, let me do a quick overview in my head, to 6 or 7 extra hours of university after next week, and we'll have to do 3 different homework assignments per week, plus writing a protocol for experiments, which is a first for me. Now, some of our students have been doing this from their school because they went to a special school studying something technical, something related to science, which I did not. And it's really cool for them. So it's not cool for me. But on the other hand, it is pretty useful that we start with stuff that early, because for now we have more than plenty time left for people like me to learn how to do it. But yeah, that's what I've been spending most of my week on. I also finally got back to doing some taekwondo, and I think that's most of it. I did meet some more people, of course I did. I went, let me think, what else did I do this week? No, this week was just spent on uni entirely. And of course, meeting the friends again. And then on Saturday, which is today, I actually had plans to meet a lot of friends from uni whom I had to talk to in the course of the week, because we were all hella busy. And unfortunately, they've all either gotten home or gotten busy all of a sudden. So we'll have to rehash that in a few weeks' time. I have also still not applied for my job, which I really need.
Oh boy, a job. And what you applying for?
I'm gonna become a tutor.
Yeah.
Which is one of the
you
coolest
mentioned
jobs you
something
can
like that.
get.
Is this gonna like feed into your desire, or is it like
That's
this
not.
gonna feed into the path of like becoming a professor for you?
It might. After that's something I've been on Thursday after taekwondo to meet online and talk to him a bunch. Of course,
You talked to who a bunch?
A friend of mine who's studying journalism and who's gonna move to Zurich next year. So you'll probably drive over there with a train, meet him, and get to do the podcast with him on one Saturday, because he's gonna be doing a special episode of his expertise topics.
Oh, so he's gonna be hip-hopping here with me, doing
Oh
the
yeah,
podcast.
of course.
Oh,
Either
yeah,
that,
sure.
or I'll also drive to Switzerland just to podcast and make him feel left out, as he's leaving us out for now. Never mind all that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the 3 of us can hang out together and we can take a lot of selfies and then just completely pester Imperfect, you know?
Of course, we'll post selfies of you because you liked it so much.
Oh,
Don't
yeah,
you,
definitely.
T?
Also, just quick mention here, Imperfect isn't gonna be joining this podcast, I
Oh, he isn't?
believe. I mean, he just said that he won't make it for another hour. So unless
Oh,
this
that's
is
all right.
yeah, I mean, unless we stretch it out a little bit more, I
We
don't
don't
think
need
it's
him
gonna
here
be.
anyway.
Oh goodness. Yeah. Well, now that we're all caught up, you know, I think it's time to get into improv. Improvisation.
Ooh, yes, improvisation. And I believe you're an expert on this topic, are you not?
Well, on the practical side, yes, but in the
Of
theory,
course.
I'm completely lacking.
There's surprisingly little theory behind improvisation. Of course,
Oh
there's
well,
some of it, but not
there
a
you
lot.
go.
But tell me, why are you an expert on the practical side?
Well, I feel like the more unprepared you are, the better you have to be at improvisation. And this is not me being like, haha, look, I missed the podcast. I'm late all the time, so I learned how to improvise. No. This harkens back way further to like the school days, right? Because oh, did I ever tell you? I never told these stories on the podcast, I think, but I think I was so unprepared for every school assignment, right? Every time like they'd ask me to hold a presentation or something like that, I would just be too lazy to do it. And especially in biology, because they had like these minute presentations they wanted us to throw, which took like what 5 minutes to make, and they wanted us to work on it for the whole lesson or something. So I'd just not do it. I'd work on other projects. I'd doodle in my book. I'd feed into the art side of me. And then when it came around to actually doing the presentation, well, I think my most legendary moment there was I did.
Legend. Wait
Well, I
for it.
mean,
Wait
yeah,
for it. Dairy.
that's the only way you can describe it in this case, right? Because I was making the presentation while I was giving the presentation. I was freezing the projector, and I was talking away and rambling while googling information and copy pasting it into the slideshow so I could unfreeze it and move on to the next slide. Oh my god! I think the teacher by the end of it, she said something like, "Oh my god, you really did your research on this one."
No, yes. Of course you did.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, the moral is that if you're unprepared, you learn how to improvise, and it's
or
a
you
weird balance,
fail and crash burning to the ground.
Well, you have to fail to succeed, right? You have to learn.
Oh, that's a nice one. Failing to succeed. Note it down. Move on.
Mhm.
Noting it down. There's a pen.
I mean, do you have
Move
any?
on. I'll just note it down.
Oh, you want me to move on? Well, I mean, I was gonna ask you, do you have any? How do you see improvisation? I mean, what's the dividing line there for you? Like practical skill, theory, etc. I mean, how did you learn it? Because I'm assuming you can improvise, right?
I can do so. It all depends on the situation I'm in, but I'll still need to note down failing to succeed.
It all depends on what your mic cut out there for a second.
On failing to succeed, on how much info I got.
And
Yes, I will talk about it in a second.
okay, great.
Y-
I'll just jump on
Right.
some noodles.
Oh, go
I guess
on.
this is like
Keep on eating.
This is the awkward silence that we cut out of the podcast most of the time.
Cut out. Of course, this is gonna be cut out. Nudge, nudge.
For goodness sakes, I swear to God, there was like 5 seconds of nobody talking, then like the mic cutting out, and then me slurping noodles. We don't need that.
That's what the people come here for.
That is
And
not...
who are, if not people to provide for the people. Improvisation.
Yeah.
I think there's two ways you can improvise, and in the end they're both the same, but there's two approaches to it. One of them is improvising is something you learn by being prepared. Most commonly this is because you're just somebody who isn't really attached to preparing, or who doesn't get themselves to prepare for stuff. In that case, you just become naturally apt at it over time because you have practice with shitting your way through instant situations.
For goodness
And
sakes.
they do stress you out, but I suppose it also helps you to deal with certain stresses, which could be a good thing.
If not done in excess, because boy knows,
of course,
I
if
do it
done
in excess constantly. Oh. Yeah. And the second method of
the second one is because we've talked about planning a few weeks back and how you could plan out your entire day, week, month, year, and how it's going to screw you over big time because it doesn't work, especially in the waterfall method. So what you do is you plan ahead for improvisation, and you give yourselves the tool you need to improvise. We've also talked about different plans. So if you want to form any good habit, for example, or if you want to do anything really, you need to formulate a plan in your head. Most of the time we do it subconsciously in the second before we execute it. But let's take, for example, driving a car, which most of us can relate to.
Yeah, sure. I can totally relate to that. Driving a car, hand on the steering wheel, foot on the pedal or something. Yeah.
Goodness, what's it called?
We have
manual
second gear.
Yeah, no, not second gear. Back in Europe where we drive non-automatic cars, there's a third pedal, which is not just gas and brakes, but I can't for the life of me remember what's it called in English.
Well, it's the nitro pedal, Summer. Come on now. You slam on it to go
pedal
real fast.
is the one you would pull with your arm. Remember?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, the middle pedal is the self-destruct button. Well, okay, Summer. You know what? Let's not test my knowledge on driving a car.
Let's better not test it here nor on the road. I've heard what people from your class do when they drive.
Yeesh, that's another story.
The other way of improvisation. And improv itself is a funny thing, in my opinion, because on the one hand, it's something you most of the time use when you are prepared. So when you haven't learned something, when it's a completely new situation, when you have very little information, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And here's the thing that would lead one to believe that these situations are what leads people to be good improvisers. I can't quite agree with that all the way. So, of course, it gives you practice, as we talked about. But I think you'll be far more able to improvise if you do research, prepare, and give yourself information, knowledge, and abilities to improvise with. And this all ties back to various forms of improvisation. So if I tell you, think of improv, what's the first 3-4 things that come to mind?
Oh boy. Well, I mean, the first few things that come to mind are obviously like improv humor, right? Because
Yeah,
like you get that
comedy.
a lot on Netflix nowadays with like the big specials, John Mulaney, Kid Gorgeous is one that's really good.
I'm gonna stop you here because I don't use Netflix, and neither should you. Moving on.
Goodness, Summer. That is another topic as well. That's another entire podcast, I feel. That's like social media addictions. We could talk for hours about that kind of stuff.
Oh yes, on our glorious social media platform. Good.
Oh yeah. You know what? Maybe there's a bit of hypocrisy in there.
There's a bit of hypocrisy in most things.
Yeah. Well,
So, improv comedy shows, improv. There is improv comedy, so yeah. What else do we have?
Goodness. I mean, you have improv groups. It's not just like a thing that you have to perform if you do improv, right? I'm pretty sure there are lots of groups who come together and string together stories like as activities just to stimulate the brain.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think there's groups who just make up their own stories without people having to perform, because improv is very useful, or is to be used in stressful situations. So it makes little sense to put people in a really safe and secure spot where they'll learn how to improvise, and then they still can't when they're stressed out and really need to.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I could have sworn that I heard about people using it just to like improve their like I don't know their brain, declutter that brain, make it less.
We'll get into that in a bit. But yes, people use improv to let's get into it right away. People use improv to be able to deal with their entire life situation. Because if you can do improvisation, it's just going to benefit your quality of life greatly overall, and especially in regards to jobs or things you have to do. Because we all tend to forget some things, and if you know how to improvise, you can mostly deal with it. It also makes we were talking about it, but go ahead.
Yeah, before you continue, sorry. I just want to mention something that I just thought of right now is I don't think it's just that like you need to be able to improvise, right? That's not just it. I think people need to have the courage to improvise. Because I know for a fact there are plenty of people who know how to improvise, but they just can't bring themselves, like in a work environment or like academic environment, to step forward and take that risk, So I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that in a second, because I think that's
we will talk about that in 2 seconds, because there's one thing I'll note down. And the other thing is, you said there's a lot of people who know how to improvise, but who can't actually, or who don't do it. And you connected this to courage, which is a part of it. But a far larger part of it is knowing about something and doing something are completely different things. Because let's talk about drawing for a second. Do you know people who study a lot of art history, the theory crafting behind it, and who just know their stuff?
Yeah, of course.
There's an entire course of studies dedicated to art history, right?
Yeah, it's very sad.
No, it's not. It's one of the most fun courses we have, and I consider taking it in the future.
Well, I mean, I could kind of see where you're going with this, right? It's like people who take those
Well, then
courses
tell me.
don't necessarily make art themselves or are artists themselves, right? Which I think is a real shame, actually. I don't think so. I mean, it's like you're weaponized with all this knowledge, right? So you just don't
Did you
have.
just say knowledge is to be weaponized?
No, I said you are
Your
weaponized with
homicidal
knowledge.
mania
Listen.
sees such talk and succeeds any
Knowledge is
regards
power.
of
I swear to
the
God, Summer.
expansion of human
What's like a
knowledge
really
in
knowledgeable
regards
book?
to destruction?
You got the Bible, right? I bet if you smack the Bible across somebody's head, they'd pass out, all right? So yeah,
Uh,
you weaponize the knowledge. I
I
mean,
I weaponized a book, not
well,
knowledge.
you see what I mean though, right? Like our artist here, Pamus, he is a very traditional artist, right?
Yeah,
And
he
he
is.
does study a lot of like old classical artists, and I mean, somebody like him could definitely benefit from art history, right?
He did, and he does. He's learning about them, and it makes him far better. Art
Ah,
studies are these
well,
things you
there you
do.
go, right? So don't you think it is a shame if people take art studies and then they just never bring it out to like make their own art with it? It seems like a bit of a missed opportunity in my eyes, you know?
Yeah, there's a quote by Elvis Presley, and I don't have the exact citation. I might get it later on, but what he
Mhm.
said transcribed is, "I pity all those people who enjoy my songs and have never written one of their own." And there's a lot of
Ah,
quotes like it, which is just goes to say that most of the great creatives of our entire history, those we have recordings of anyway,
mhm.
have at one point in their career said that everybody ought to do something creative, which is probably what you're going with here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can definitely see that, and I mean support that kind of message.
So can I, because creativity is something that's closely tied to, and as we talked about, improvisation is something great that everybody should do. As in, it, I think it would be better for everybody if they could do it. It would help them lead a happier life. And of course, there's two things that go into being good in improvisation. Actually, there's three of them. First of all is good preparation. That's a word. Second
Mhm.
one is being creative, and the third one is being innovative.
What about where does the whole courage thing tie into it though? Is that more
Innovation.
like
That's innovation.
okay, sure. I was wondering if it's like either that or it's like the glue that holds it all together. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I mean, you can be creative, you can be innovative, and you can be prepared, right? But if you can't take that first step, nobody else is gonna take it for you. So it's just
That's innovation. But we'll get into innovation and their formal definitions.
sure. All right then. What's
Just
the
note
next
that down
thing?
so you can bring it up later on, right? In the meantime,
Innovation.
I will be
Sure.
talking a bit more about what were we talking about? Art studies and why people should, or why you're really sad when people who do art studies don't do art. And I
Yeah.
can see where you're coming from, right? I get what you mean by it. You think it'd be pretty cool for those people and for everybody else involved if they would also work to do art and would show their skills, improve their practical skills in as opposed to just their theoretical one. Because theory crafting is nice and lovely and all, but it never gives you finished product
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
we talk about writing,
That is
which
what
is
my
the
point was.
easiest course I heard.
Well, hold on now. Somewhere. There were little veiled insults here. First of all, I'm studying literature. All
Oh,
right.
sorry, I meant literature.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
It's
That
literally
makes
the
it
same thing.
well,
Literally.
look, I listen, right? I'm so many people. Okay, this is a completely different podcast, but I'm gonna go on like a
Sure, go
tangent
ahead.
here and mention
We
it.
have
But
nobody who's gonna
like we nowadays, it's become, or at least less now, right? I can see it become less and less now that people in workplaces don't require you or really come after you as much for not having a university degree, but it's still there to like a large extent, and there's a stigma against people who don't have university degrees, bachelor degrees, right? And that leads so many people to go on and study just anything like literature just purely to get a degree. But I have to step in here for my own defense and say the only reason I'm studying literature is because I want to expand my writing skills, right? That's literally my only reasons. I couldn't care less if I got a degree by the end of it. In this
uh
case, it really is more so like the stuff you learn along the way. You go to the classes actually because you want to go to the classes, and not because you're pining after some piece of paper by the end of it. So, I mean, even if I failed the course completely and I ended up with no degree, I will still be glad that I went and learned more about the subject that I care about, you know?
Yeah, that's really nice of you to end with. As long as I learned something I care about, and I think we can extrapolate this to the entire field of everything we spend our time on, which is a bit bigger. So as long as you as a person have grown from it, it was worth it. It doesn't matter whether you start a $2 billion company or whether you fail with a small business. It doesn't matter whether you write a great book that everybody loves and get praise, or whether you write a short story that's absolutely trashed by everyone who
Yeah.
ever reads it,
I
because
mean,
it is trash.
exactly.
As
It
long as
doesn't.
you grow from it. Go
Yep.
ahead.
It doesn't even matter if you screw up making brownies like I did, because guess what?
Oh,
Next time you can make better brownies, you know?
yes. Well, here's the thing. Of course, us saying it doesn't matter doesn't mean
It does matter, but in the
yeah,
positive way, right? Yeah.
it is more metaphorically, as in the overall run, you can use it as an opportunity to grow and make it such that your failure doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
have the tools to just say, I don't care about failing, I'll succeed anyway. Screw you, universe.
Yes. And I completely forgot what we were talking about before this tangent.
Oh, I'm shocked, aghast beyond belief.
I mean, you're more prepared, you know? You're better at.
Slightly more, yes. We was talking about art history and how studying
Ah,
really interesting,
yes.
how people should be creative in their lives. And what I'm wanting to add is, if you don't enjoy drawing, but really enjoy the history of art, which I could understand, because it's got some wacky people in there. I mean,
Oh,
look
yeah.
at Van Gogh or
Look at me.
Michelangelo,
I'm right here.
or other people with fancy names.
Oh,
There
of
was even a
course.
guy who drew corn as a portrait of a person, and it's one of the most famous, well known. I think it's the girl with the pearl earring, something
Uh,
like that.
um, I do. That does ring a bell.
Yeah, it's Jean Vermeer. We've talked about a
Mm,
bit beforehand, but that guy and his drawing or quote unquote portrait.
mm.
So yeah, art history is really fun to study. You don't only if you really want to draw. You could
What was that,
do
Summer? You
creative.
cut out for a second.
It doesn't matter whether you study art history or not, to whether you should draw. You should only ever do art if you enjoy it. Even as a job, I don't see the point in doing art specifically if you don't enjoy doing it. And that's one of the biggest things. There is a story about a fisherman in Greece. So I've heard the story a few ages past, but it goes about a rich guy asking a poor fisherman in Greece who he makes his living by just going out for hours every day, catching some fish and selling them at the market. And so the millionaire asks the fisherman why he's doing. Hold up, what is he asking him? Right, he's asking him why he isn't expanding his business. And then the fisherman asks,
Ah,
"What? Do you know the story?"
yeah. I just remember the story. I
Yeah,
just I
in
just.
that case, we'll play it out. I'll be the rich bitch billionaire,
Oh
and you'll be the
boy.
fisherman.
Well, Summer, I don't know it that well, but I'll try my best.
Well, that's a good opportunity for you to improvise.
I'll just
So,
completely change the moral of the story, and it'll be completely different.
we shall see. It's a fun game. There's a fun game called Angels and Devils. Later on.
We're splitting off from tangent to tangent to tangent here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's an important skill in improvisation, being
We're
able to
just
just
improvising
go
along the
with whatever.
way.
Because do
Ooh.
you know the first rule of improvisation? It's not the rule of freeze, which is also big, but there's another rule. The
Oh,
first rule of improv.
it's to improvise.
No, that's not a rule. That's the entire point.
It's to, I don't know, is it to go with the flow?
Yes, it's to go with the flow. So you can never say no in improv
Oh,
class. You're just not allowed. The
oh
only thing you
goodness.
can say is yes. And you know the
Oh,
next word? Yes.
that reminds. Oh my God, there's like so many things I want to bring up in like rapid speed. All right, let's do this.
Oh, all right.
That
No,
rem
hold up. You will go ahead, take your notebook, and note all the things you want to talk about
oh,
down
for
right
God's
now, so
sake,
you don't
Summer.
forget them when we go off on the first tangent. Go ahead. In the
This is
meantime, I will talk about tune out, mute me if you have to, and write all your things down. Talking about
I
improv.
we wanted we
Yes. Yeah.
the moral, Summer, the moral. We wanted to do that little story of the
Yeah, we'll do
fisherman.
the story after you've noted down all of your stuff or telling me.
Okay. So this is another part of the podcast we'll cut out.
Are you already done with your story?
Well, no. Okay, what was I want? Art history something. Oh my god! See, that's the thing. I completely forget as soon as I
No,
say
no. Art history.
art
Uh,
history something.
Creativity, art history. Oh yeah, John Vermeer. Maybe you wanted to funny, wacky personalities, studying it as opposed to studying it drawing.
I,
And then we had never rejecting anything, improvisations, or yes and that's
yeah,
what I
I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Let's go on with
I
the
think. All
fisherman
right,
story.
so poor fisherman, tell me, why aren't you expanding your business?
Uh, dude, mind your own business.
Right.
um,
That's not.
that's not how the story goes. Okay,
Yes,
let
I
me see.
will. And my business lies in helping other people grow to a more happier life. So tell me, why are you not working a bit more for now so you can have more money later on?
Well, if I fish all the fish now and I sell them all now, I won't be able to go back later and fish more fish, because I'll have killed all the mama and dadass who can birth more baby fish for me to kill.
Oh yes, I'm not telling you to fish out the entire sea. I'm telling you to maybe start working on the sidelines and to build an entire fishing company, for example.
Yeah, I don't know where the story goes from here. All I know is that the dude's like, I don't want to kill all the fish in the sea.
Oh, really? That's a different story than I had in.
Oh, is it?
It is.
Well, I
And in
thought that.
my story, the fisher guy goes, "Why should I work on expanding my business?" And the millionaire guys go, "Well, look, if you do this, you can earn a lot of money." And the fisherman guy or the fisher guy says, "Why would I ever want to have a lot of money?" The millionaire, of course, goes, "Well, if you have a lot of money, you can take some time off your job and relax, maybe even buy a nice beach and go just lay in the sun and relaxing, right?" And the
Mhm.
fisherman looks him dead in the eye and has dead in the eye, lays down on his stool and says, "Well, that's what I'm doing every day." I just really like that. So you can be happy regardless, not regardless. As long as you have
So we were
money,
thinking of
you
different
can
things.
be happy without more money.
How does this
That's
tie
the
into
moral of the story.
improvisation, though?
What?
How does this tie into improvisation?
Well, one of those guys is clearly just planning ahead, and the other guy, and that's the millionaire, and he really wants to convince the fisherman
Yeah,
to
the
build his business.
fisherman
Of course,
is
of
going.
course, the millionaire has already had some experience in convincing people to, because he clearly wants something from this conversation.
Yeah.
And then we have the fisherman who's just improvising, right? And
Yep.
he doesn't reject anything the millionaire says either. He's just going with it and explaining his reasoning. And in the end, they're both coming to a agreement to disagree. Or maybe, just maybe, the fisherman has even. But that's the story I was talking about.
The fisherman has what? Somewhere you cut out there again for a second.
Convince the millionaire to stop chasing money.
Yeah. Okay,
Ah.
I can see the link here. That does remind me of a different story, actually.
Oh,
It's
go ahead.
completely unrelated again.
Oh
The
no, then
AC
don't go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's a very short story, right?
Well, how long is short?
Short is like it's like 3 sentences or something.
All right, go ahead.
Well, it's the story of the Eskimo and the priest. You ever
Long?
hear that one?
No, I haven't. That's the first sentence. You got two left.
Oh, for goodness sake, somewhere.
Mm. And that's one sentence left. Give it your best.
So the priest tells the Eskimo, "Hey, yo, dude, you hear of God? He's a real cool guy. He rewards people who are good by letting them into heaven, and then he punishes the bad people by putting them in hell." And the Eskimo is like, "Yo, dude, what about the people who don't know about God? I mean, how does he judge people who are unaware of his presence?" And then the priest is like, "Oh, they are judged by God because they do not know. He cannot blame them for being ignorant." And the Eskimo goes, "Why did you tell me about God then?"
Yeah, I know the story.
Yeah, you do.
So you did note that I really cut down on what you could do here, and it kind of goes counter to what we were talking about before,
Well, see, I
as
improvised.
in
See, I just made one long
improvisation and not
sentence.
saying no. So here's a little tangent about tales in improvisation, because that's a big one. Telling stories or living stories. And first of all, I want to show you the power of yes. So heck,
Yes.
for the next time, for the next 10 questions I'm gonna ask you, I only want
You only want what? Oh,
I only want you
sorry.
to answer yes to,
Did you drop
no matter
the
what I
mic?
say. All right? Are you ready?
Wait, hold on. This can backfire very easily.
You have just screwed up. I'm just gonna go tell a story. I just want you to say yes to the questions.
Okay.
Can you do this?
Yes.
Good. See, that's the first one. So, are we going to tell a story?
Yes.
Is the story gonna be about a wizard?
Yes.
Is the wizard called Tim?
Yeah.
Does Tim help a band of knights?
Yes.
Does he show them how to find the treasure they're looking for?
Yes.
All right. Here's the question. Is there an issue with him showing them the way?
Yes.
Is the issue a beast guarding the entrance?
Yeah.
Do they manage to get rid of the beast?
Yeah, they do. Oh my god.
Is the count of the holy hand before you throw it onto 3 and not onto 4?
I have no clue what you just said, but yes.
I quoted Monty Python.
Ah, there you go.
One of the greatest comedy troops of our time. Have you never seen Quest for the Holy Grail?
I have seen Quest. It's a long time ago though now.
All right. I can recommend rewatching it. But yeah,
What was
So-
this demonstration here?
we'll do another demonstration, you see. And I want you to answer no to the next 2 questions I'm asking.
Okay.
Does it sound fair?
No.
All right. Are we gonna tell a story?
No.
See, and that's it. That's how far you go with a no. You just stop. And that's why improv gives you the rule. Don't say no, because you can
See-
have an entire series of questions. Any point.
Before I
ahead.
respond to that, right? I want to say if you're kids, if you're being recorded and somebody asks you to play this game, make sure you trust them because Summer could have very easily been like, "Hey, you don't like black people, do you?" And I would have had to say yes.
Here's also a thing: if you are playing this game with somebody and they've tricked you into agreeing, you can always say, "Hold up, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Let's talk about something else." Right? So you don't need. There's nothing and nobody forcing you to say yes.
Yeah,
Physically.
I mean, do say yes to a lot of stuff, but Jesus
Oh.
Christ. Anyways, all this have you seen the Yes Man? You must have seen the Yes Man, right?
What the flippin' heck is our yes man?
Have you not seen the Yes Man?
I have never heard of such an occurrence.
Well, maybe it's because you don't have Netflix, Summer, for goodness sake.
What is the
The
yes man?
It's an old movie actually, and it goes over exactly what you're saying right now. It's Jim Carrey.
I think
Yeah.
I've seen a
You must have.
poster in a cinema ages ago.
You must have. This links perfectly to everything you're saying. I mean, it's Jim Carrey, and he's down on
Oh, I
his
have no
luck.
idea who
And
Jim Carrey is.
well, it's an actor, and he's down on his luck, and like everything sucks for him. And he goes to the seminar, right, on how to improve his life. And the person in the seminar says, from now on, you're just gonna say yes to every opportunity presented to you. And you just see, like, throughout the course of the movie, how like saying yes to very little things has greatly benefited his life and like made him a happier and more well-rounded person almost. So yeah, I mean, if you don't want to listen to a crappy podcast about saying yes, go
I have indeed heard of the movie, but it's been dug up and just got it back. So here's the thing: I have been reading Nietzsche, that is Fass Spokesher Frustra, a book which I cannot wholeheartedly recommend.
You cannot.
It's acceptable, but not great. Pardon?
What is it about the book that you wouldn't recommend though?
Nietzsche's writing style is just very convoluted, and he does not get his point across well for the entire thing. It,
Okay, sure.
it's contradictory. So if you're into reading high stakes with a lot of fancy terms and worming around, scrumming around, trying to be metaphorical examples,
Yeah,
Nietzsche is the guy for you.
if you're
If you're
tired of reading and understanding the book.
Well, yeah, you can also sum it up in one meme that is, oh boy, everybody's stupid but me. It's literally the book. But
Oh, sounds fun though.
of course, he also makes a lot of valid points.
Sure. I'll just
And one of them
link
is
this
about
to.
saying yes and saying no.
Yep.
I think it was Nietzsche who said this. And there is no value in rejecting. Oh, yes, it was Nietzsche. At the beginning, he talks about a transformation of the mind. And so he says there is no value in rejecting everything. Can we agree to this? If you just keep saying no, nothing's going to come out of it.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, life is a amalgamation of, reactions to your actions. I mean, that's not always the case, right? I mean, it's reactions of other people's actions as well, right? But it's fair to say that if you say no to everything, you're not putting anything out there. You're not making any waves, and no waves are going to come back to you, right? And over time, you're going to get more isolated, and it's just going to suck more, So yeah, you got to say yes to stuff, my friends.
Indeed. And as we talked about in improv, you always have to say yes. You can never say no to anything. Of course, within the bounds of morality, please. Within the bounds of
bounds of
society.
morality and legality. Let's
Yes.
just throw that in there as well.
Within certain constraints. And
don't let
in your
anybody
life,
trick you.
you could be like the yes man and just say yes to everything. And it's an absolutely terrible idea. You should never do it. Because if you always accept everything, it has the same value as rejecting everything. And that's nothing. You would be
Yeah.
like a paper boat in the sea. So you're sometimes floating eastward, sometimes westward. Then you're floating south and west again, then north and then eastwards. And you end up at the exactly same point. If you just go along with every breeze that comes your way, you'll end up going nowhere.
Yeah, I mean it's all about like having a I don't know. It's difficult to say this, because I know a lot of people struggle with this, but it's about having like this inner self-worth and respect, Like you can say yes to a lot of stuff, but you got to be able to draw your own lines and not be, not let yourself be whipped around
Just as an art, you've got to
completely.
be able to draw your own lines.
Yes.
I think I could agree. I would have worded it as in you need to keep a balance between what you agree to and what you say no to.
Yeah.
But it boils down to seeing yourself, indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've talked about saying yes and no to everything. So there is a second word that is almost as powerful as yes in English. Do you know what it is?
A word almost as powerful as yes.
Yeah, it is almost it is actually an addition or an addendum to the yes. Because if in
Uh-huh.
improv, if we just go, I say something and you say yes,
Uh-huh.
then we're not really interacting at all. It's just me doing whatever I want and you agreeing, right?
Yeah. So the second most powerful word, the addendum to yes.
Yeah.
Um
Let's have a fun exercise and try to see whether you can figure it out.
oh
And
god, I
we're gonna
remember
tell
this.
another story. You can you always have to say to start anything you say with yes, and we'll see whether you can steer the story along. Right?
Okay, sure.
So are we talking about a story here?
Yes. And it's an exciting story.
Is the story about a princess locked in a tower?
Yeah, and she's really fat.
She's what now?
She's really fat.
Fat.
Yeah, fat, like
Alright, yeah. Oh,
like
she's
she's
morbidly
stuck in the
obese.
tower because there's no
And
dragon.
is she actually willing to spend the rest of her time in this tower?
Yes,
Perfectly happy.
she is, because the tower has a lot of, I don't know, it's a cookie tower. It's got this
So is the
infinite
story
cookie
not
tower.
rather than exciting, really boring? Is
Oh
the
yeah,
story not a story where literally nothing happens?
yes. then
All
the-
right.
well,
Now we're in a deadlock.
yeah.
Tell me, do you have any idea what the second most powerful word is?
Oh, I mean, I'm assuming it's a connective, right? Like and.
Yeah, it is the word and. Because
Yeah.
yes, and not only, first of all, it accepts what the other guy's saying, takes it, but it also takes the story you're telling, moves it to you, and gives you control over what happens next. That's what the word and does. So that's why the first rule of improv, all in all, is yes and.
Yes,
There's no
and.
no's. Because no matter how long your chain of yeses go, as soon as somebody says no, it stops and the entire story is lost.
Mm.
What What's really interesting is playing a game here too, which kind of goes in the same direction, and you can do it with your friends walking along a park, for example. I used to do it with a rider friend of mine because it's an incredible exercise for riding, I believe, as all improv classes are. But the story is called Devil and Angel, and there is two people, most commonly two people playing it. Do you know it?
I don't believe I've ever heard of this.
It's not a very famous game as far as I'm aware, but it is fun to play. And so it actually goes similar to what we were doing beforehand. Each player gets a role, and of course everybody knows what role it is because there's two players and you have to
Yeah.
know your own. And then you start telling a story about a character or an event, anything really,
Mhm.
and you take turns telling the story. As with an improv, you can't say no. You can only work with what's already happened. So you can't alter the story's past. You can only affect the current moment. And then the angel's goal is to have the story have a good ending in some way. And the devil's goal, in part, is to have it have a bad ending.
Oh, okay. I see.
And
I see
it
how this
really
goes.
picks on your creativity and then your ability to act, because you have to work with what's already there.
Well, I mean, you wanna try this? Do we have the time to try this?
Of course, we have the time to try this. We can wait for Imperfect, and we have so much more.
Oh
We want.
boy. I mean, how long have we been waiting already?
Oh, we've
I
been
mean,
waiting for an hour.
oh,
About.
he should have been here by now. Well, everybody, I'm not one to judge though. I mean, let's be honest here. I'm the one who's always
Yeah.
late. Summer, you
Who
judge.
who are we to judge in general? I'm not one to judge by far.
Say that in a more convincing voice. maybe.
No, I am not going to judge anything for anyone or anything. In fact, I do not
Okay.
see myself having the authority. So, on a moral basis, I cannot judge anything. Moving on, there are cases where I'll have to judge, and that is
For
my
goodness sakes,
hypocrisy, which I
Summer.
had to accept because as a human being, as an individual, there's just things where I have opinions about which I feel like sharing, and I'll do that. Moving on, I just try to judge as little as possible.
All right, I was just fishing for a small funny answer. And
Yeah.
you and your scientific explanations. Now, you want to start playing the game?
No.
Oh, for goodness sakes!
Oh, no,
Well,
wait. Yes, and I want to be the.
yeah.
Yeah. So
You want to be the what? Did your
devil.
mic cut out?
Yeah, I
The
did.
what? The what?
I want to be the devil
Ah, there you go. See, I knew you were gonna pick that one.
because
Okay, you.
in the words of Tenacious D, I'm the devil. I has never
Well,
been.
for goodness sakes, Summer, you're
Well,
already
it's a good song, all right.
You're deviling my life story right now.
Oh,
All
well,
right, you want to start
there's
or
the will to do more.
I will throw you off track.
Now, and shall we start?
Yes. And our story is about Tyler, the intrepid adventurer.
Yes, and Tyler is currently in despair because none of his podcast co-hosts are ever able to be there in the correct time.
Yes, but he is also enjoying the fruits of life by being with his friends and family.
Unfortunately, those will be cut short due to him having long-term abandonment issues, therefore clinging to his family, which in turn again leads to him being more isolated.
Yeah, but it also opens up the opportunity for him to go to therapy and work on himself. And eventually he will strive to become somebody much greater than he could have been if he had been born without these issues.
However, this strive will fail miserably, and he will have a horrifying existence remaining days on this earth. Pardon me.
What was that? Can you repeat that? You cut out again.
Yes. And this strive will fail, leading to Tyler having a miserable existence for the rest of his life on this planet.
Yes, but as soon as he dies, he realizes that his greater existence as a soul and a spirit has benefited incredibly from the negative experiences, and he moves on to greater and better things.
However, none of that can help him bear the burden of his loss.
Yes, but the weight of his loss helps him inspire other people and makes him a more compassionate and empathetic person.
Or as time passes, he sees all of his ideals, all of his inspiration take a turn for the worse, and all his teachings being grossly misinterpreted to an increase in violence and despair.
Yes, but his incredible suffering turns him into a martyr of humanity, and he inspires billions and billions of future generations to go and rise above the masses and to become more than the sum of your parts, so that they must not suffer as he has.
And in their journey to end their own suffering, they become selfishly and turn into the greatest tyrants of human history.
For goodness sakes. You
Uh,
mean billions and billions of generations of kids all turn into tyrants?
of course they do.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, let's see if I can work with this. Oh. Yes, but
Come on, give me something more. There's not been enough suffering in this.
oh boy, you know what? I can't think of anything to
In the
I mean,
far future of the grim darkness, there is only war.
my first instinct was to be like, yes, but a meteor crashes into the earth and kills everybody.
Well, that's a nice happy ending.
The thing is, I don't know how are you supposed to twist this to make this better, right? I mean, oh
And then
god,
can you just give up?
Yeah, Imperfect's gonna like listen back to this and just hear the horrifying story we've twisted for him.
Well,
Sure.
here's the thing: one of us has won this story, and it's
Yeah,
not the
well,
good.
it is
But it was
not the
fun.
good
You'll
ending.
have to
It
agree
was
to
fun.
this.
It is fun. It is an enjoyable thing.
And here is a good opening sequence to a story. Right? Uh, it is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the emperor of mankind has sat immobile on the golden.
Oh my
He
goodness,
is
this
the
Warhammer.
master of mankind by the will of the gods,
It's
and
Warhammer.
master of a million world by the
Just
might of
pause.
his inexhaustible
Just skip
armies.
forward like a minute or so.
He is a rotting carcass,
Make
writhing
it like 5
invisibly
minutes.
with power from the dark age of technology.
I have
He
not
is the
played Warhammer.
carrion
I
lord
don't know
of the
what you're
vast
talking about.
imperium of man,
For
for
goodness
whom
sakes.
1,000 souls are
We need like a
sacrificed
bar on the screen that
every
indicates how long this
single
is gonna take.
day, so that he might never truly die. Do you
Oh my
want me to
goodness.
go on? Because I really like this, right?
You know what? I mean, if we get enough people who want like a Warhammer episode, I will
Oh, come
go.
on! It's a good universe.
I will look into it, and then we'll do a Warhammer episode if enough people say they want a Warhammer episode, and we can spend hours discussing the intricacies of I
Look,
don't know.
it's just pure grim dark, and of course it's trashy and hilarious. But
I'm
it's fun.
sure they
Also,
they
my
they.
kitty just came, and I'm so happy. He's a
Aw,
cuddly. Here,
send a
sure.
picture. Send a picture of the adorable cat. We'll throw it up on the
I will.
screen. We'll
I
force.
will once. Oh, but he's purring. I can't put.
throw the picture up. We'll definitely
Yeah,
include it.
he's gone away.
Oh well, never
What a
mind
shame.
then.
He's still a good kitty.
Yeesh.
So yeah, now you have a story you can. I cut off again. Goodness.
Yeah,
Right. So
you
now
cut
you
off
have a
again.
story you can yeet at your friends whenever you're going out with.
I suppose you could do that, or you could also not talk about Warhammer all the time.
No, I was talking about the game.
Oh, the game! Oh, goodness sakes! I thought you meant we should tell everybody. Oh, the man who sits on the golden throne.
Oh yeah, that's also cool. Hi, how's your week been? Also, this
The
fictional
man who sits
universe
on the
where a
golden
guy's
throne.
literally dying for thousands of years.
Oh goodness!
Always gets conversation started, doesn't it?
I suppose. I mean, I
Mhm.
guess if it doesn't, you can always improvise. Huh?
Oh, yes, you can.
See, do we have anything else to discuss with
Oh,
improvisation?
yes, we have a ton of stuff to
Oh,
discuss. We're not
Christ.
even
Okay.
halfway through the things,
Oh goodness!
which is really fun.
I thought we were
So,
done. Okay, well, before we continue, I totally forgot to mention this earlier, but I don't hate art history majors. You know, if you take art history and you don't actively paint or draw yourself, I don't mind. You know, I don't care. You do you, you know.
will
I'm
still
not saying
brick you, though. He will throw a brick at your face.
I will do that regardless of your major. See, I don't discriminate.
Of course not. Not even against writers called Juan.
Juan
Juan K.
Juan Quay.
They see me rolling.
Okay.
They hate
Next part
me.
of the intro.
Oh.
Next part of
Next,
improvisation.
for sure, go ahead. You have started this episode, or we have talked about improvisation a few times ago, and you remember the story you wanted? The one that you have just thought of. No, not the one at the very beginning, the second one.
The Angel and the Devil?
No, the one right before. After the fisherman, before the angel.
Warhammer.
Oh, no, that's me. It's also after the angel.
What was it? Something princess who got too fat to leave her castle?
You know, we're almost there. Princess reminded you of it, but never mind.
Nietzsche writes like a son of a
It's a
bitch.
story you told, Heck.
Oh.
It was the one you wanted to say in 3 words. Yes.
Did I?
You did. Eskimo priest.
Oh, yeah, the Eskimo priest. Dude.
Oh, yeah.
I
No,
totally forgot I told that story.
yeah, that's also something, because I've had to have a trigger remind me of it as well. Because here's the thing. In my head, I was, there's this story Heck told, and I wanted to talk about him introducing us to his telling of the story, but I couldn't think of the story until I had something trigger my memory. But yeah, so you started the story with a specific sentence, which I noted down for the purpose of rehashing it now. The sentence is, I just thought about it right now. And I just wanted to remind people how powerful is this and how it shows you're really good at improv. So congratulations.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That makes me good at improv if I have a very disconnected brain. It just picks up information at random.
You just can come up with something on the spur of the moment without any actual visible trigger.
Well, I mean, Summer, we've been doing this podcast for like 14 episodes now. Of course I can.
Yeah, of course you can. See, that would be the perfect time to just say, and Tyler, what can you come spot? But we can't because he isn't here.
I mean, do we wanna see if he's gonna join in a second?
Sure. Shoot him a message.
Okay,
In the
I'll
meantime,
do that.
I'll do some theory talking.
You in entertain our lovely audience.
I will entertain a lot of the audience. Yes, so hello everybody and welcome to Warhammer. Tonight we're reading the intro, which we have already done. Screw me, the podcast is over. Thank you all for joining us. It has been a pleasure.
I left you alone to write that message for about 5 seconds, and what has happened?
You haven't missed anything much, no. I certainly didn't invoke grim and ancient gods in order to get across a plethora of information in this span of time.
Did you?
No, I have no idea what you... I have no idea what you're talking about. I denounce.
Did you freaking cuss at our audience? I'll
I beg your
I'll
pardon.
I'll
Why
drive
is
all
the
the
first thing you think of me swearing?
I'll drive all the way to your home in Austria, and I'll just
Yeah.
take a break and I'll smack it across your face.
Could you please not talk about smashing me? It's not something I enjoy. Sorry. I don't swing that way.
Swear to God.
See, I was almost getting brick.
You know what? We're becoming delirious. What
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
time is this? I slept 4 hours in like
Why
the
didn't you
last
sleep
2
more?
days.
Was
Well,
it your
I had a flight at like 6, you know?
yeah?
So
So that
naturally I
gives
didn't
you
sleep.
7 solid hours of sleep.
Well, yeah, sure, but if you sleep at 3 a.m., you get 2. And then if you fly
Why
for 2
would you
hours,
sleep at 3
then well, I was having a hot streak in Dragon Quest V. So the casino was getting a lot of money. Got myself the Metal King summon. It's really good. Got a really cool character. Really cool equipment.
No, I'm not crying.
Broken summer.
We've broken, as if we haven't already broken this. Talking about the season. Season 2 is coming up.
Oh, really? When is our season finale for the first one, Christ?
I think it's about October.
October's
Might
October's
be
like the end of the freaking year, summer. What?
Well, it's already March. Time is
Oh, is it?
marching far too fast.
Oh yeah, Christ. I mean, it's hard to think that like 3 months have passed already.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, Christ
Goodness,
almighty.
I'll need to think of more questions. And I will do this after the we will talk about creativity, innovation, and I forgot. Oh yeah, we'll talk about the third thing afterwards. And what are your thoughts about creativity and innovation?
In relations to improv again, or
Yeah,
something?
and in relations to the difference between those two.
Oh, creativity and innovation. Huh. Well, I think innovation really carries more of a, I don't know. It drives forward like a connotation of like it being completely new or unthought of, you know? When I think creative, you know, I assume it's like you can look at the piece and you can really understand where the artist has come from, or the writer or whatever, you know? You look at it and you can see the steps they followed. You see it and you're like, hey, it's creative that they would come up with this idea, you know? Like, let's say somebody thinks of like painting robots baking or something, you know, that's creative, but it's not innovative because it's not like bringing something new to the table. When I think innovative, I think like, oh, I couldn't have thought of this. You know, it's like this is completely new. This isn't like I can't see the steps that have followed up to this point unless I were to like research this topic specifically, you know? Like I think like the touch screen, you know, is an innovation of sorts. Like it just comes out of nowhere and it's like, well, bam, you know? Who would have
It
thought
really
of
came
this?
out of nowhere that you.
That I what?
I
What'd you
did
say?
not expect you to mention a touch screen of things.
Well, I mean, I think we underestimated a lot, like how these things that we accept into like our day-to-day lives, like how they even came to be. Like
Yeah.
not just like touchscreen. I mean, you can mention like infinite examples like this, like the discovery of penicillin, right? I think that's the first
Yeah.
antibiotic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. You can create it by leaving moldy bread lying around for 3 days. I
Well,
can
yeah, I
only
wouldn't.
recommend this if you're a stranded time traveler.
See, I wouldn't call it innovative or creative. It's just a, it's a complete accident. But yeah, it's that kind of like huge impact on society that comes out of nowhere. That is more so what I would connect with innovation. You know, because before the touchscreen, you know, how were people like
How?
doing stuff, on phones. You had like the tiny little buttons and you tipping away here, typing your text message. Nowadays all you have to do is drag your finger across the screen and you can type up entire sentences.
Yeah, and they're almost correct most of the
Almost.
almost.
See, but
Well, have
yeah,
you tried using auto finishing of your sentences?
I don't use that at all. See, but then that again, improving that and finding ways to improve how that works, that would be more so creative, you know, because it's building on the foundation of like the innovation that was the touchscreen.
Indeed, that is one of the two distinctions. So there is, in fact, a permanent discussion about how to define creativity and innovation. And
Mm,
there's two main fronts. First one sees creative as being taking something that's already there, using it in new ways and improving upon it,
mm,
as you said. That's probably the one you're more familiar with. And
yeah,
innovation as thinking of or taking something that's completely unheard of. And we don't need to talk about those, or we do not need to talk of anything, but more depth about which of those two a bit, because you
sorry,
are
you
the
cut
expert
out
on
like
these now.
3 separate times on that sentence. You might want to repeat that.
All right. I would like you to go into a bit and explore the themes and which of those is more useful, which risk. Go a bit into the difference between creativity and innovation and how they can be used against each other, with each other, and when which is more useful.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. See, we should probably wrap up whatever mini topic we're doing now because Impy does want to join in around 10
Yeah,
minutes.
he'll join on the second half of improvisation and creativity, and I'll wait for you to finish exploring these two things, and then I'll talk about the second one.
Well,
So
yes,
give us 10 minutes of talking about creativity and innovation as we did.
10 minutes of talking of
About
people,
10 minutes. I'll chime in whenever you need.
creativity and innovation. I mean, I said my part, right? I don't know what to add, but I'll try
Right.
my best. Yeah.
So would you say art that is drawing? And later on we'll talk about writing a bit, about filmmaking. Really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we will start by talking about drawing. What parts of it are innovation? What creativity? What parts of it are just learning the rules? Because that's a big one. I personally think that you can be very creative and or innovative in art, as in most skills, and it's one of the best things you can be. You'll be at the top of your field if you're great at innovation and creativity. But before you can do any of that, you need to learn the rules.
Oh boy. I mean, if you want to talk about innovation in art, I think with traditional pen to paper lines on canvas art, it's harder and harder to do something like innovation because so much has been discovered already. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff we don't know, but when I think about innovation and like that kind of sort of art context, I think like the way you shade, you know, like cross hatching, dotting, those kinds of styles, the new styles, those are innovative, And nowadays you still have that, but not so
I
much
would more
with.
say they're creative because
Oh,
they're
you would?
taking shading and using it in a new way.
Huh.
Why would you say they're innovative?
Well, I'd say they're innovative because, well, it's like a new branch of shading, right? Because like stuff like cross hatching or like other types of shading, they leave a lot of white in the parts that are supposed to be shaded, and that's
Yeah,
not usually what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have
it
this clear
is.
distinction, but it is.
Yes, shadow is a very or shading is a very soft thing. There's a lot of gradients and slow
Oh yeah, but
turning
that's
of
not
lights
that's
into
not what I
darks.
mean, right? I mean like having like big chunks of white in between like the dark pencil lines.
All right. Here's another thing. Are you able to look at something that casts
What?
anything that's casting a shadow?
Yes,
Right.
I
Look at that shadow.
yeah.
And then tell me, is it really completely pitch black? Or is it more
Well,
so a bit darker, but with white mixed in between?
see, I know what you're referring to. You're referring to like the gradient that it has, but I'm talking more so about, God, this would be so much easier if you could see what I'm visualizing in my head, right? But I see, the thing is, you'll like this because I did remember this from a Proco video, actually,
I
you
love
know,
it.
where he was talking about shading and cross-hatching,
Yep.
and how cross-hatching can look really messy sometimes because you still have those bits of white in between. But if you know how to do it, properly, like the masters, then you can make it look very professional. And that's why I'm saying that kind of shading technique and the development of those kinds of things is more so innovation, because you can always shade, and do that kind of stuff in
That's very
creative new.
presumptuous of you to think that I'm already able to shade.
Well, you can do it
Not
in
really.
very creative ways. You can choose like where the light is hitting the object. You can choose how many pieces of, how many light sources are hitting the object, or how long the shadow is, or how dark, or the contrast of the light of the room. You can influence all that and be incredibly creative with that. But you can't be innovative and create a completely new way to shade and then use that to build up new, more creative ways to utilize that shading. Do you understand what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, so that's why I'd say that stuff like shading, new techniques to shade are more so innovation, and that's why it's so hard to come up with new things like that nowadays. I mean, I think the latest thing that I would see as innovation in the art world is the way people play around with like, oh god, with sculptures, with modern art, 3D sculptures, you see a lot more innovation because
You
they
do.
find that, yeah, I'd say so, because the way they play around with like shadows and objects, because you have so much to consider in that art form, like what is the sculpture made out of, and if it's like a sculpture that was made to look messy but then the shadow casts like perfect human forms or something, you can link that and see why it was done this way, etc., etc., and
Oh
it's,
yeah, I
yeah,
really enjoy them.
yeah, though they are really pleasant to look at, and that's like the way I'd say, modern art is being innovated right now. And like, not just shadow casting, right? You got plenty of that stuff where you have art pieces that just play around with what we know already. They bring in new features and innovate what we would perceive to be classical, art, or classical techniques, I'd say, rather, with like sculpting and such. And it is creative, right? But it is creative within new bounds, new unexplored, innovated bounds.
Why are you calling it creative and innovative?
Well, like, the way I see it is the whole like garbage sculpture equals amazing shadow art. That's an innovation, right? But then the way you would arrange that garbage and the shadows you would cast, that falls into creativity. The creativity moves within the bounds of innovation.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Creativity moves within the bounds of it. That's just
Yeah.
something we could quote you on, and it would be a
Oh,
real lovely quote.
yeah. I mean,
If
this is
Impure
this
was, I'll
this
I'll load it down and we'll do a YouTube.
this is a recorded thing, so you heard it here first, guys. Hecate, what's my last name? Hecate
Do you want me
Edonia.
to say your last name?
No, my handle somewhere. Hecate Edonia. I think that's what I chose. Yeah, you heard it here first. Hecate Edonia. Creativity moves within the bounds of innovation. Quote it, write it down, put it in your school project and
Make it as loopy as you can.
have the teacher yell at you.
Why?
It's like, who is this guy? Or even better, the other thing you could take away from this, put it in your school project and do it while you're presenting it. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Come on, that's a nice quote, guys. Pick it up and throw it at people. Yeah, just in their face.
Just right there.
Yeah.
We are
You've
just
been doing a lot of good cool stuff these days. Also, since Tyler will be joining us in a few seconds, I would like for us to play the entire episode as if we were having an argument right now, and we'll do it for the entire episode. So he only knows that we're not actually having a fight after he listens to it and edits. Is
Wait,
that all right with you?
You're springing this on me now?
Now, yes, because it's gonna be improvising, right?
Wait, okay, but how hostile do
Be
you want
as
me to
rude or hostile or pissed as possible after he joins in.
Like, when do you want to reveal this? When he
Well,
listens back to
he'll
it?
see it once he edits the episode.
Well, that's such a long time for him to go
It
thinking we're mad
is,
at
and
each
it's
other.
gonna be great.
I don't know how much I can keep up with this.
It's gonna be a lovely surprise for him. Imagine his face. Actually, do imagine his face, because I have no idea what he looks like.
What are we arguing about? You gotta give me something.
Look, I don't always have to give you something. I think I've just about had it.
Well,
He's
I'm not
always literally the same. You can't keep relying on me for that.
I'm not asking for a lot, Summer. I mean, come on, you know?
Yeah, that's what you always say. You're never asking for a lot. But if it's a little now and it's a little then, it's a little more, and at the end of the day, it is a lot. All right?
Well,
just think of me for a second as well.
I am trying my best here.
It doesn't seem to be the case.
Summer,
lovely meeting you, Tyler. How was your week?
Yeah, maybe you jump in here.
Yeah, good of you to come in here. Because it was just about getting a tiny bit spicy. For reasons.
Which continue on, please. No.
I'm sorry,
Carry on.
No, I think it's
you two.
I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, please let's just leave this behind. And could you stop it with the laughing?
I'm so you know what, Summer, you
know,
I am
I'm serious. Please. It's not professional.
You know
it's
what?
It's just not how we should act here.
Well, I feel like a bit of humor would add to the enjoyment of the podcast, Summer.
A bit of humor is okay. All right,
I'll all be as uptight as you are. I can't believe this.
All right, I'll try to be a bit more funny, and you'll try to be a bit more serious, a bit more prepared. We talked about it. So, Tyler, please tell us about your week. We need a distraction.
I'm gonna listen back to this.
Oh no, you're not.
You know, I don't think that's a good idea. It gets
terrible idea.
Oh boy.
Well, no, you'll have to sit for it anyway. But it's all right. I think at the end of the day, we will come to an agreement, and 2 out of 3 is enough for now, especially for this.
The podcast is only once a week, so
yeah. We'll get over it. At the end of the day, I still don't have anything against you personally, Heck. I don't hold this behavior against you. And I do enjoy you as a person, just not tonight.
Yeah, Summer. The feeling is mutual.
That sounds like it's not mutual.
I mean,
I know.
You trash panda. Get your head out of the gutter.
Tyler, there's an interesting theory that is to hate one must have loved, and I'll take a twist on it. To be really annoyed, one needs to be bothered by something. And to be bothered by something is far easier if you bother about stuff. So, I heard you've been playing with your nephew, and I heard you've been playing a bit few. We've also been talking about creativity and innovation for the most part.
I mean, that topic was improv, Summer. Come on now.
Oh goodness. Now you're really bringing this on me? You're really telling me it was my opinion, my points that change our discussion?
Imperfect gets he doesn't get a lot of opportunity to speak with us quacking about all the time. So you know what? I just want to hear about Impy's week now.
Yes, I also really do, because I have no idea what you've been up to. Come on, Tyler, just a wee bit. For the record, Heck has done nothing except not sleep a lot. I have been sleeping enough. I unfortunately got sick, and I've been mostly over it. Thank you for asking. I also started uni at the start of the week. It looked really nice because there was a bunch of free time.
We don't need another recap of your week.
All right, my week was nice.
He's right.
It's really busy. Go ahead, Tyler.
Man, I'm curious. Whatever. My week was a week working stuff.
That's pretty weak.
Your week was weak. That's like
It was okay. But yeah, I was right up until about now. I was doing a little concert with my nephew, one of my nephews.
Well, you were doing it. That's
He's
what
4
you
years old.
Playing?
He's 4 years old.
Oh,
he's 4 years old, and he was
prodigy.
No, just saxophone isn't that hard.
Well,
No. So
no, he's not a pro. No, at all.
You were quick to dismiss that one.
It turns out that he can blow on the saxophone in it, and he can do some finger movements. Or he can press the keys on the saxophone pretty easily. Well, pretty easily. He can do it.
I hear that's a key part of playing it.
You are not wrong.
All these puns.
Yeah, so he was playing my saxophone for he's visiting.
Yes.
And he's playing it for my grandmother.
Yes.
For goodness sakes, Summer, what is this? Are you trying to? Is this how you add more show?
Look, you want me to be less serious? Could you please decide?
You have to pick your moments, right?
Yes, you do.
Someone does. We all do.
We all do. Let's just move on. Or
Summer's just being a kid. So yeah, it was pretty fun. He got a lot of tips with we had a bunch of extra change and some extra change laying around the house. We tossed it in his tip jar, and he's gonna go out and buy a new truck or something.
You know, Tyler, I just wanted to make a pun about how you're only supposed to tip waiter, because I thought you were saying tips as in suggestions. And I want to say, wait, he got a lot of tips. I thought you were only supposed to tip waiters, and now you're telling me.
Oh tips? Yeah, do you guys tip in?
You're tipping me off.
In Germany and Finland and all those places.
I don't know. I haven't been to Germany nor Finland in ages.
Well, what I remember is Summer did not tip when we went out to the cafe. I thought that was just unbelievable.
What I remember is me trying to tip, and someone said I wasn't supposed to.
Well, you're not supposed to, but it's still good manners, Summer.
One of us is living in Switzerland, and I'm cutting it. Who are you to lecture me about manners? Really, think about it.
I mean, are the Austrians known for their manners?
I mean, are you known for your?
Oh my God, Summer! I am so.
Oh, so I was applying for citizenship to Australia, and they asked me if I had a criminal record, and I was like, "What, is that still required?"
I gotcha.
This is the absolute worst.
Yeah.
Can't believe I'm still doing this podcast with Summer. It's so unbearable sometimes.
Yeah,
it is completely unbearable. We have 0 bear incidents our start. I'm proud of us.
Okay, I get it.
The only
now.
one, Summer.
I get that now. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, my week happened, and it's gonna continue happening until I die.
Yes, that's how we usually go by. We were talking about the first of 2 definitions of creativity and innovation for now, because we've already talked about how improvisation is really good. We've done some tries for improvisation, which I won't do again for the one part because I'm really tired of how it played out. and for the other part, because I don't want audience. But what are your thoughts about improvisation? And have you had to do any while performing music?
Well, I've never performed music in public. Okay, I take that back. I've done a choir a couple times in church, but no, I've never had to.
You've acquired your stuff?
Choir, church choir.
Yes, you've acquired it. Should I be acquired?
For goodness sakes, yes, Summer.
You can. I was in choir. No, I can't think of anything. The improvisation only comes naturally. You can't force it.
You can't force it, indeed, but you can train for it.
Oh, like it's a habit. Oh wow,
is.
I didn't know
It is in
that.
fact a habit because
That was
you
sarcasm.
guys. Oh, we didn't talk about this before, but you guys know about those classy snapbacks when somebody comes up with an insult and you just take it and get up. Even better insult.
You mean like you did earlier, Summer?
Excuse you.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Could we please just leave it be?
maybe we should cut this part out.
Yeah.
I'm cutting out from when I joined or to some point to probably about around there. Just so you know.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so when somebody says improvisation, I think music because improvisation is really useful in music. But then
No,
are you talking about like improv comedy?
yeah, that's a fun thing because improv is a lot of things. What it isn't is easily defined. Improvisation is a process. Improvisation is something you do. It is, or improvisation is also not something. So you don't improvise, but you improvise something. For example, you improvise, not trash talking, but you improvise these social games of funnily insulting each other, or you improvise a piece of music. Or you can also improvise comedy, of course, which is one of the big parts. Improv is just the ability to take whatever is there and gets creative or innovative with it, mostly creative. And we've talked about this. Creativity is taking that's something that's already there and using it in a new or funny way, a unique way. Innovation is coming up with something that's entirely new. That's the first definition, and there is a counter definition, or not even counter. There is another definition which is used in scientific terms. As far as I'm aware, it's the Oxford Dictionary's way of defining it, and we'll just jump into that right now. So, according to the second definition, creativity is coming up with a new idea that is either an idea relating things or ideas, for example, products that have been there before, and picking a new term for them. It could be something like coming up with a unique marketing strategy. It could be coming up with a new product, right? Could be all of those things. Something that's new so far, because people really love new stuff. By the way, that's also why making new friends, when you make new friends, it always seems so much more fascinating to talk to them initially, and eventually they lose some of that freshness, some of the new stuff. And all people do this. So, of course, we also have old and long-term friends whom we care about, got fascinating things to share. It's just a general statement that new things are really appealing.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to take it that way, you can talk about like the in love phase that everybody has when they meet a new person. I mean, you've heard of this, right?
Being oh goodness, there's a word for it. Infatuated? Infatuated?
Infatuation is
Yeah.
something similar. I think the whole point of infatuation is that you don't actually like them, and then like that's different from the natural process of falling in love with somebody.
I think infatuation is just when you are initially fascinated by someone and they just seem to be your dream person, an ideal person, which they're usually not. Heck.
Let's move past that.
All
Point
right.
is, right,
Sorry for bringing it up.
You got an in love phase.
Yeah.
And as soon as, that's just part of the natural progression of things. And as soon as that is over, a lot of people, they feel that thing that you said where the relationship loses some of its freshness. But in reality, it just means that all those endorphins have finally worn off, and now you can see the person for who they actually are. And then when you still stick around with them, then you got yourself the path to a good long-term relationship. But if you get sick of them at that point, or you don't feel anything anymore, that's when you didn't really care for them that much as a person in the first place.
Yeah, I
Summer.
think we've all been through that. And now moving on to innovation and creativity. How are relationships?
Any questions? No, I don't
No.
think so.
I want to talk about relationships.
Wait, what'd you say? You cut out.
Do
Oh,
you
I
want
do.
to talk about relationships?
Apparently, I do this tonight. Do you want to talk about relationships and
me?
innovation, or not innovation, but improvisation in relationships? Because I think that's a really unique angle, which we haven't.
That sounds interesting.
Well, in this case, give us something interesting to think about.
Darn.
And here's the thing.
Improvisation.
It is not going to be about dealing with problems. It's going to be about having a long-term relationship. That's your rules. Go ahead.
Improvisation dealing with a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
We
Innovation as well, right? I mean, we defined innovation earlier.
innovation, creativity, the whole bunch.
Yeah.
So would like, just randomly getting a gift for someone count as innovation? Because in that,
if you hadn't done it before, if it's like completely new to the relationship, then yeah.
It is a lovely surprise. Of course, that's of course presuming your partner. Goodness, that's of course presuming your partner's love gift in some way. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on tonight with the freaking? Is it the mic? Is it the Wi-Fi? What's up here?
It's the mic.
Ah.
I don't know what's going on with the mic. It's probably because my mom keeps borrowing it for her classes, so I have to plug it in again, and then my laptop has some regards about accepting it.
I mean, you did drop it earlier as well. That was fun.
Oh.
Yeah, I see. It was maybe fun for you. It was not as fun for me.
Well,
as you might have seen her reaction to it, because the thing is filthy expensive.
You were fooling around with it a bunch, so I mean, come
on.
on now.
What else was I supposed to do? With you just blabbering
focus on the questions, Summer. Just like Impy is, we're interrupting Impy here. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and he so rarely gets to talk. Go ahead, Impy.
Is that my role in this relationship? Do I just stop you two from talking?
No.
That sounds that could work. I'm good at telling people to shut up.
To be the more reserved and quiet person, the classical introvert, thinks about a lot about stuff, and then gives us smart stuff which we can pick apart and discuss.
Yeah, the role of the intelligent person. I will take it.
I will not say intelligent, because intelligence is something everyone possesses.
I'd say more like, when you have a divorce, you need a child to kind of absorb the heat between the two parents.
I would also not say that, because you are indeed intelligent. Question is just what kind of intelligence you're connected with here. And yes, it is the classical stereotype, typical intellectual. So come on, give us something intellectual.
About relationships.
Goo-goo.
Yeah, relationships, long term, not about issues. Go ahead.
Well, you said not dealing with problems.
So not just dealing with problems.
Does a baby count as innovation?
I personally count them as human beings, but to everyone their own, I suppose.
You are so close to your mic. What are you doing?
Sounds like
so far away.
Yeah.
I mean, innovation, Impy, such a grim way to put like having a child. I mean, that implies that you didn't plan at all, It's like
here's the thing. It doesn't imply that he doesn't plan at all right? as I interpreted it, which is a nice way, is let's say if you have a long-term relationship and let's presume it's all stable, having a child is really nice. Of course, assuming the necessary assumptions. So you at one point want to have kids, you're both fertile,
Yeah.
and your kids will be all right, as in they will survive, you'll have enough money and time,
Yeah,
love,
yeah,
to
yeah,
spend
all
on
that,
all
all
of the
that,
boring stuff.
all
If we
that.
assume that,
Yeah.
then having a kid is indeed a nice innovation. And it can spawn a
Mhm.
whole new dynamic. Because having childs
Mhm.
is really cool if you have them the right way.
The right way,
S-
Summer. What's
Yes.
that mean?
Whatever. So I think innovation is for a long-term relationship, it's really helpful in getting to know someone as the people as separate as individuals continue
I
on with their
like
lives.
that. I like that
like
take.
like
Because
my I'm talking. Shut up. Like
Oh, you
my
won't believe what it was like.
I'm talking. Shut up.
you wouldn't believe what it was
Like
like.
I'm talking. Shut up. Like my best friend. I think he's one of my best
Shut up,
friends.
I'm
John.
talking.
He's
Summer,
getting
for goodness
married.
sake.
He's getting
Yes.
married soon. He just got engaged. He's getting married, and like having me as a person having to. That happened. That is also happening.
What you're
Having
hearing
to
is
doors opening or something.
no, it's a chinchilla running
Oh.
into the walls of her cage.
Oh,
Yeah.
good job, Chinchilla. Well, anyway,
Anyways, yeah,
It needs
changing.
to chill a bit.
yeah. The freaking Jesus Christ! You should see this thing.
Changing
Yeah.
and growing with that person is really, really cool because I like John. I like him as a person. So having to now not change how I react, but change my understanding of him and like what he needs and what I can be to him and what he can give to me. Having to, learn these things on the fly, it's really cool and I enjoy it. If you guys get what I'm saying at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of my friends are married, bunch of bastards. Now, I am absolutely getting what you're saying. I wish you all the best relations to your friend who's clearly listening to the podcast.
Of course.
I
Mhm.
really hope the wedding goes well, and I hope you'll all have fun afterwards and have a nice life. As I just wanted to rehash a bit and talk about your statement of getting to know somebody as on a personal level, because that's really nice, and I didn't think of that so far.
Mhm.
So would you like to expand on this, or should I?
Well, you don't learn new things about people by rehashing what you already know about them.
Could you
So-
stop doing this on a rehash on one?
So people have, man, I forgot what they're called. They have like different masks around. What is the actual term?
Persona.
Vermin.
We all have personas.
Personas.
I don't. I'm not a bloody furry.
Yeah, you're a liar.
Oh goodness.
We all
sakes.
have them.
Well, I might be a liar, but I'm not a.
This podcast has gone into a wildly different direction.
We're appealing to a different crowd, okay? We
You
gotta
mean
find our
crowd?
niche, expand.
So what does this mean? I have to draw everybody in fursuits now.
Oh yeah. Hold
Oh,
on.
you missed for the pet episode.
Tyler, there's something important I have to tell you.
Oh my god.
Oh, is that?
Oh,
That is for a thing.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, we each have personas around people, and like we act differently around our work group, our school group, our friend group, and our family. And I think part of getting closer to someone is like showing them your different personas being different around them, like doing things you don't do around them.
Put on a fursuit.
Yeah.
For example.
They would learn a lot about you if you did that.
They
And-
sure would. They
and if-
sure would.
And if you like the person and you're the type of people that communicate well and connect well together, then they'll be like, "Oh, dang, where's my suit?" And it'll be like, "Now you can share that
Yeah, and
hobby.
it will really suit them.
I see what you
resuit
mean.
them."
Yeah. If they pursued it.
Pursuited it. Yeah.
The pursuit, isn't it?
We're in the pursuit
We can
of a
slice out
fursuit.
like 90% of all of this.
Yeah. Do you guys want me to cut out you arguing?
No.
We didn't.
Cool.
argue.
Or yeah,
It's
probably
fine.
yes. Just listen to the podcast before, so you can
Well,
see
I mean, maybe
will
some
do,
bits
will
in the
do.
cut out because I
yeah.
think the argument took up a lot of time. Heck,
Yeah.
and
mean-
so we might not have a lot of podcast left if you cut it all. But maybe
Yeah,
a bit
good,
more
'cause-
quiet.
We don't
I
need
mean,
to do 2 hours anyway.
It's just a chunk in the middle-ish, right?
Yeah, no one's gonna listen to it anyway. So
Yeah.
okay,
mean,
yeah,
you are,
that's
Wait, that's our entire podcast.
yeah, me.
So yeah, and again, creativity is having new ideas, and innovation is when you put those new ideas into practice. To go back to what initially. So innovation is what we have been trying to talk about for ages as well, and there is 3 things that go into doing improvisation. Is something we agreed on. First of all, is you have to be creative or innovative, so you have to have a good idea. You need to be prepared somewhat, and you have that was the 3 things. You need to be prepared, creative, and innovative. Innovation in this case, of course, being that you not only have your new ideas and your preparation ready, but you also put those things into practice, and that's what innovation is. You don't just have the ideas and the theory. We also talked about this briefly at the beginning. Somebody who studies art history and whom heck doesn't like.
Well, I never said that. Sorry, you're just.
Yes,
taking
you
over.
did. Could
Well,
you
listen,
stop?
Hey,
Let-
kids,
let's just
stop it.
All right.
Stop
So-
it. No more dig, Summer. Stop it.
No,
Be an
what?
adult. Come on. No more digs at people. Come on. What were you
no,
saying?
sorry.
Somebody
Yeah,
who likes art history? What?
Somebody who likes art history but doesn't do art. We're talking about a bit how those people would benefit from doing art and whether they would benefit from it. So that's being prepared, obviously. And then we need some level of creativity, because just redrawing something somebody else has already done is what we can do with a regular printer. That's not why people do art.
Well, I mean, yeah, imitation is fine though, right?
Yeah,
Because like you have to copy to
imitation is the highest form of praise. I'll give you that.
Hmm.
I personally don't see imitation of art as a worthwhile pursuit for anyone as an artist. As a hobby, it's perfectly all right. As a hobby, most things that are really unquestionable are all right.
Do you distinguish between imitation and stealing?
I distinguish between imitating something, pretending it's thing.
Wow.
Or-
What is going on with that mic?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I wish I could tell you.
Is it some connection thing with the laptop? Because
I'll try something out.
he's just gonna leave the podcast. Oh goodness sake!
That would work. I think I can cut Summer's part out at this. Yeah, I can silence this part.
Oh,
just
no,
silence
it
this
is
part.
not.
And I think pretty much the only difference between imitation and stealing is the credit you're giving the original artist.
It's also
Wow.
the intention that matters, because if you imitate something just as a hobby for yourself because you like this, and
Yeah.
you don't need to credit the people if you don't ever share it and, for example, keep it locked in a room for some reason, right?
I mean, that's
Yeah.
another podcast episode as well. Because
Keeping things locked in rooms? No, we're not doing that. I can
No.
assure you, we'll never have an episode about keeping things locked.
I mean, the whole conundrum with stealing in art. Because I mean, I think it was
Oh, yeah.
Picasso said, what's it? Good artists. Oh my god, hold on, let me pull up.
All good
Oh,
artists
yeah.
steal. I know the quote. Do
Yeah,
you know by whom I know this quote?
Who?
Oh, it's somebody who knows a thing or two about art, and this
Oh,
person really
goodness
like
Christ.
teaching it to others. I
Oh
would
god,
almost
here
say
it is.
he's an
Here
art
it is
teacher.
again.
It is
Donald Trump.
what the fifth? No, it is somebody who is living in America and has not got enough following as it is. His name is Proko or Stan Prokopenko. You can look him up on YouTube and Instagram. And he also has his own website where he gives great interactive art courses. And a lot of it is for free for spend a lot of money. Personally, I can't even suggest buying some of the courses which are related to the things you want to practice because they are awesome. But you don't need to do that.
Anyway, that's kind of off topic.
Of course it is.
Oh yeah, I found the quote, by the way. It's good artists borrow and great artists steal.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
we can all agree that great artists are a bunch of
Yeah,
dirty
yeah.
thieves then.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys with me? We're going to Paris and we're gonna go steal Mona Lisa.
You know what? I am completely in. I do need a new placemat.
You're
That
a good
sounds
artist.
good. I've never been to Paris.
Now is the
I know
time.
people who speak French, so I'm basically French.
Yeah. Or
Je
Canadian.
parle français.
I mean, pretty much. So.
Oh,
I
je
mean,
comme ça. Ça
I'm
va,
gonna
très bien.
Don't start with the different languages again.
Oh no.
So anyway,
Je m'appelle pomme de terre.
what were we talking about?
Just say
Innovation. And how it's really good thing. You also might have noted how I told. So we've already talked about the rule of yes and. I just want to bring it up again because it's a really good rule. In improv, Tyler, you know the rule of yes and? First rule of improv.
Yes.
And you will tell us.
No.
Oh wow, you've just broken a bloody rule.
I'm sorry, because there's a very similar rule in writing. Well, not
Oh,
a
it is?
rule, but a very similar guideline to proper expectation, whatever. It's like,
Yeah,
yes,
tell
they
us.
get what they want, but no. Yes, but
Oh,
they
that's a good
they
one.
yeah.
Yes, but no. See, that's something we could use in improvisation. If you do anything with improvising, and in improv comedy classes, as the most prevalent example, you cannot use the word no. No matter what, you'll always have to say yes. So you can't reject anything that's happened. You can only accept it and work with the things, which is nice. It's a nice message. You have to work with what's happening. You can't just change the past. And so the only way to really change it is the and, because that way you're taking the story from whoever is telling it, you're making it your own, and you're giving yourself the ability to do what you want. Now, excuse me while I deal with my cold and talk about. I'd like your guys' opinions on improvisation and on rules or structures, because here's the thing, right? When I tell you guys, think of something, it's really hard because you can't think of something without anything to come up with. So what you usually do is you think of your past few conversations, moments, something that stuck in your mind, or you frantically look around the room. And now if I tell you think about something and then give you some guidelines as to what to do, it's really easy. And that's because inhibitions breed creativity. And I'd like you two to discuss this.
Inhibition breeds creativity.
I haven't heard inhibition. I've heard that other word.
Incentive.
So have I, but I can't think of it.
Dang.
Restrictions.
Restrictions.
Restrictions breed creativity. Oh yeah, because you have
Yeah.
to way around the issue, right? And if you
Yeah.
can't go the traditional path, the only way to go is to
True.
be creative.
Yeah, and then like a lot of people, when they're given 500 options, it's going to be a lot harder to choose than when they're given 2 options.
Yeah.
So
that's
yeah.
really cool. And it's also
Restrictions.
why starting anything is going on doing it. Oh, it's part of the reason. Another part is momentum and bunch of psychology, but one of them is once you've started doing something, you already know what's gonna be next, and that's really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, specifically with improv and restrictions, like on the guitar, which I play, you have your scales and stuff, and there are these things called backing tracks on YouTube, which you can play along to, and it's typically just in one scale, so you only have 8 notes to go from up and down the whole guitar, and like the point is to go along with it to learn what these notes can do and find out just like what you want the guitar to sound like with those specific notes. But then even so, just with those notes, it'll get stagnant after a while, and that's like with a lot of restrictions. After a while, I think it's different with some people though. After a while, it's like, okay, I've heard these same notes 7,000 times. I need something else now. And then like you do something else, and then you come back to those original notes, and you're like, I have more ideas now because I've gone outside, I've looked at stuff, and it's changed my perspective, and it's come back. So restrictions are good, and also exploring is good.
Something else, right? You need a prompt. You need something to trigger you. You need inspiration.
Yeah, that is a curious thing to think about, though, because I feel like most people, when they come across things like restrictions, they don't immediately go to that. They go to, geez, why am I being restricted here? It'd be so much easier if I could just do this. And then, you spiral yourself into like this kind of bad attitude almost, where you just perpetually worsen your situation by thinking, why am I in this bad situation? And then lamenting that instead of going that creative route and using restrictions almost as a like jumping board to greater and better things.
You're forcing yourself to think about.
Yeah, it's the grass is greener on the other side saying.
Fun fact or fun thing. Do you guys know about the law of attraction?
Traction?
Law of attraction.
Oh, attraction, like
opposites attract.
I'm attracted to you, bro.
Yes, you are. That's gravity. It's also physics. But the law of attraction is a metaphysical mumbo jumbo. It's also a philosophy. And it tells you that the universe is providing to you whatever you focus. So if you focus on the good parts or on whatever you want, I think one of the most prevalent examples is focusing on a new car you want, or in your case, Tyler, or focusing on your dream house. You will just naturally glide towards it, and your goals will be similar to magnets attracting you, which is an interesting take. So what just 2 or 3 sentences from each of you about this law. Of course, it goes the opposite way. If you focus on whatever you can't do, whatever you're lacking, you'll drift towards those things. Heck,
duh.
Go
Heck
ahead.
was going. Okay, yeah, Heck, you go.
I mean, why don't we let MP take this one?
I'll let you take it both.
Well, Heck, if you don't have anything, I can say a sentence.
Please go ahead.
Sure.
Duh! That's what placebo effect and false positives are. That was my sentence.
On.
Yeah,
it's a similar vein. It is certainly part of it. Is that all? Do you have any personal opinions on it?
Follow your dreams. Shoot for the stars.
I dream of eldritch horrors consuming. Give me a second while it sounds Cthulhu. But yeah, shoot for the stars. Don't miss them, because if you do, you'll end up in space, empty and alone, trapped in the void forever. But it's nice as well, having some time to reflect.
Yeah, no, you'll probably hit a planet or so. You're
no,
dust.
You probably won't. Like 80 to 90% of the universe is
Yeah, but anything can happen.
Yeah, most things can. Yeah, and anything can happen. But yeah, the law of attraction is really interesting in that it works because you want to say something. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's Hec's turn, not your turn.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to talk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good.
Okay. Then continue on, Summer.
Sure. It's interesting that it works because it's high activity, and of course, whatever you spend your time working on and pursuing is what you get. And if you spend your time complaining and whining and thinking about all things you lack, that's what you get. Things you lack, and a higher sensitivity, more knowledge about what's going wrong.
Yeah, I
It's
remember.
also interesting. Yeah.
I remember that. I know you didn't come up with it, but it was one of the few times I've heard it. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Oh yes, that is Harry Ford.
Yep.
Yeah, the law of attraction is also incredibly fascinating in that it doesn't work because you can't just spend a day sitting in your room thinking about a car and expect to get a car. You have to put working, and you have to have realistic goals, small steps, and you have to, which is not what the law is teaching. It just says, imagine your happiness and you'll get it. No, you have to put in work. You can't expect the universe to give you anything. It doesn't owe you anything.
Yeah, I do believe it sounds more like a thought in the back of your mind that you always have, as opposed to just imagine it in your room and then it'll come to you. I'm imagining it. I'm imagining it. From what it sounded like you saying, it's more of keep this thing in the back of your head, and the more you work, it will be sort of a guiding force.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
drive. It's
yeah,
not magic.
yeah, I agree.
I do see that a bunch in the sense that when you have a dedication to something or a passion for something, you should make your actions revolve around that, So if you want something, then you have to be able to commit to that, even on a subconscious level, like work towards it slowly, right? Or like you guys said, there's no chance for things to just pop out of nowhere and fix themselves for you.
Questionable.
Yeah,
Anything is possible.
I'll have to say, overall, I completely agree. I'm just has happened to me. But here's the thing that, oh goodness, what was it? Heck, run your last sentence by me again.
I forgot. I forgot already.
I had a good quote on this. What was we talking about?
when you have a
Got it.
passion, there you go.
It's something that Jordan Peterson said, and I know to discuss him as a person. I don't want to discuss his overall philosophy of psychology. I will just say I disagree with what he said, but I also agree with some of the things he has said. One of them is that you have to pick your sacrifice. So you don't get to do everything you want. And you also don't get to choose not to make a sacrifice. You have to pick it. There is for each and every one of us, there's a lot of things we have experienced.
You're
One lifetime just isn't enough.
yeah,
you
were cutting
Yeah,
out pretty heavily on that last sentence or so.
So
It's weird. It's really weird. Yeah. Pick your sacrifice. Yeah, I had to go through that recently when I
tell us.
finally gave up the idea that I'll learn a new language because I'm sacrificing learning a new language for learning sheet music, which is essentially a new language, but it's not a communicable language recently. So it was sort of like, well, I know I want to learn other languages, but I just simply do not have the capability to make the time and do all that. So,
Well, there's a quote by Henry Ford I can. Whether you believe you can or you believe.
I'm sacrificing.
I mean, I do see both sides, right? On one hand, what Summer is saying, but then at the same time, you can't do everything as well. If you want to set goals, you have to set them realistically. And if you have too much on your plate, then it's just that you have too much on your plate. And then.
Yeah, so you're saying on the one hand, you're seeing what I'm saying, but on the other hand, you're also seeing what I'm saying. And dude, same. It's really annoying because no matter what.
We're seeing eye to eye.
Yeah, finally. I'm glad we got to put this behind you. I hope you won't. But as I said, I still value you as a person. It's just been bugging me off. I think I've gotten it out of my system.
It's fine. It's
so cute.
Fine. I can't wait for Impy to listen back to this and then decipher
it's gonna be so.
Yeah, decipher all that garbage.
It's gonna sound so ridiculous to him. Made up. Goodness gracious.
It's gonna. I don't know. I mean, if you.
Goodness gracious.
Feel free.
Goodness gracious, what have you done? Oh, there is, of course, one thing. Heck doesn't remember Monty Python's films well enough.
I've never seen any.
Okay, that's it. I'm ending the call. It was like meeting you guys.
It's time to get into the
really recommend checking it out. I think we've said more than enough. It's time for me to end this call. So you two can, of course, keep on discussing or not. Heck, Tyler, I'll shoot you the link tomorrow. And to all of our listeners, might or might not be tuning out soon after me, I hope you've had a pleasurable and pleasant experience. I hope you've learned something and have a lovely evening.
Bye-bye.